Thank you. Okay, so I'm very happy to be here. My name is Mohammed Abian. I work at Qatar Science and Technology Park. I'm a program manager for acceleration. And what I do is I help people take their ideas, refine them to the point where they can start companies. I also help them take companies in Qatar and grow them outside. So that's a very short description of myself. I've been in QSTP for about 10 years. Before that, I was in Canada working in various technology startups. I'd like to just cover a topic that I think is pretty important. I'm in technology. I'm all about technology. I work in a technology park. And so I want to cover what I think there's a relationship between digital technologies, digital solutions, and competitive advantage. And I want to cover that from my point of view. And I hope that we can, if you have any questions as I'm going through this, I hope you can take a moment just to jump in. You can just raise your voice. I don't think you need to text. Just jump in as I'm presenting. The main point I want to get across here is that customer needs drive technology innovation, right? If we are to create technologies, we're not going to create them because we think they're interesting. If we want to succeed in any startup, in any business, you need to provide value, including technology. Technology needs to provide value, or in other words, it needs to address a customer need. If it's not addressing a customer need, then the adoption of that technology is probably not going to succeed. And then in terms of competitive advantage, there are businesses that operate today that don't use any technology but offer a significant competitive advantage. So that the point I want to make now, so number one, you need to provide something of value. It needs to address a customer need. And number two, in many industries, if we just put technology industries aside, in many industries, having a competitive advantage has nothing to do with technology. You can provide something to a customer better than your competitor without the use of any technology. But often cases, we can see that by offering technology, you can create a very significant competitive advantage, right? So let's get into that. I know I've talked a little bit. Sometimes it's not so clear, but let's get into that, and I'll show you what I mean. So here's an example of two identical homes, and you notice each home has solar panels on it. So the two homeowners, they want to install solar panels. There are two companies that offer this solution. Neither company has any technical advantage over the other company. In fact, they're purchasing these solar panels from a supplier. They're the exact same solar panels, but one company, let's say the company on the right, the home on the right, went with a company that offers a significant advantage over the competition, which is the home on the left. This is actually a true business case, but let me try to summarize it as much as I can. One company sells solar panels for about $15,000 or $20,000. They'll come to your home, they'll install it on your roof, and the system is yours, and you can generate electricity and be off the grid if you wish. Another company says, well, we could sell solar panels like the competitor, but we want to do something a little bit different, in fact, radically different. What they're proposing to do is you don't pay them any money for the solar panels, you get them for free. What in exchange for that, they'll install them, everything is free, you don't pay anything up front. You don't get 100% of the solar electricity, you only get a portion, 25% roughly. But then you're not paying anything. So it's not too bad, actually. You're getting 25% solar energy, not 100%, but you're not paying any upfront cost. So both companies are dealing in the solar industry, and they both solve a customer pain, right? Whether it be high cost, poor performance, et cetera. In this particular example, you're actually, with the solar panels, you're delivering a better solution. If we look at their business model, the homeowner gets solar panels doesn't have to pay any money. So there's no upfront cost. If you look at just the business model canvas here, there's no upfront costs. There are no maintenance costs. The maintenance is covered as well. They get less solar energy. And the way the company does this is, I mean, how on earth can they offer this product for free? Well, the way they do it is by offering the same product, but through a different business model. So this is an example of creating a significant competitive advantage without any significant technological innovation. Same product. So the way the company does it is it goes out to investors and it says to investors, look, I have 1,000 customers available to me right now that want solar panels on their roof. These are not the same customers that are willing to pay $30,000 for solar panels. These are customers that don't want to pay anything. And there are a lot of them. And these customers, if I install my solar panels on the roof, I as a company can generate on average about $400 per month per home in revenues. And those revenues are paid by the city or the state. The city or the state guarantees to buy your electricity, if it's renewable electricity, from your roof, if it's generated through solar or wind, etc. So essentially what this company is telling its investors is that I can guarantee you a return on your investment. I can guarantee a certain amount of money that's paid to me by the city or state or municipality over a period of 20 years by signing a contract with them. So for every home that I as a company, as a solar installation company sign, I can make $400. The only problem that they have as a company is their startup costs are very significant. They need a few $1 million to buy all the equipment and do the installation, et cetera. But they got that money by talking to investors because investors consider this a safe investment. It generates over 20 years or 30 years, depending on the contract, a predictable return on their investment. Whether it's solar or anything else, investors look for return on investment. So this is a great example of how you're not offering anything technologically advanced, the exact same solar panels, but your difference and your competitive advantage is through exclusively the business model. And the reason you succeed as a business is not because you have a great business model, is because you're delivering value to the customer, right? So in this case, the value is you're not paying anything as a homeowner. No upfront cost, no maintenance cost, and you're still getting 25% solar for nothing. The company, essentially what it's doing is it's renting your roof to generate electricity, generating those revenues and giving those revenues a certain amount of profit to the investment company that gave them the initial money to get going, right? So nothing new here. It's purely a new business model. Haven't introduced anything about technology. But let's look at an example here of where technology could play a role. And as I said in the beginning, customer needs are what drive innovation. And in some cases, like the example I gave, you don't need any new technology. But since I work at a technology park and I've worked in software my whole life, I know that if you can satisfy a customer need with technology, oftentimes that technology can be very disruptive and difficult for your competitors to copy. So in other words, you can establish a very significant long-term advantage if you can leverage technologies, but again, to solve a customer problem. So let's take a look at something, an industry I'm familiar with, which is the insurance industry. The insurance industry, when I was working in it, there was a department in the insurance company called the claims processing department. And typically they have, 20, 30 people working at their desks processing claims. So the way it works is very simple. You file a claim, whether it's a medical claim, a dental claim, you had an accident or something, you submit all the paperwork, you file a claim, the claims department will scrutinize the claim, they'll look at it, they'll investigate it, they have the supporting documents. It's a very user heavy process. So it needs a lot of skill, it needs a lot of employees to look at claims. Typically, it takes an employee about 30 minutes on average to review an insurance claim, to whether it's rejected, approved, or they need more information. And to close that claim off, it needs approximately 30 minutes. Okay, so we haven't discussed technology yet. We haven't even touched technology. What I want you to focus on is before you jump to any technologies, what we really need to focus on are business problems or customer needs. It's the same thing. And if you look at it here, this is actually a business opportunity. And the business opportunity is simply, I can do claims processing for less than 30 minutes. Right? 30 minutes is time consuming. It's costing the insurance company a lot of time and money. And in some cases, it's limiting the insurance company from making more money, from bringing on more customers, because they have a claims processing department of 30 people and they're already maxed out. They can't take on more claims. So as a founder or a startup company, you need to realize a couple of things. Number one, you need to identify a problem or a customer pain, like the one we have in the insurance company. You need to look at it as an opportunity. And the way you do that is by understanding the problem and then matching it with your understanding of technologies that are out there to help solve that problem. You don't need to be a technology expert. What you need to know is you need to have basic knowledge of what the new technologies are today and what business value they can deliver to the company. Again, you don't need to be the expert. You can always hire someone who's a technology expert, but you need to match the business need with the technology services that are out there that satisfy the need. So in this case, a technology solution could be using big data analytics. But currently, if you're just your typical software company, and I worked in one for many years, their typical solution was, well, we'll create a website for you. The claims person can log in. The customer first can log in, submit a claim online, and the claims person can then log in. They're notified. They review the claims, the attached documents. They'll do the processing, and then they'll resolve the claim, whether it's paid out or not. That can decrease the time to maybe 20 minutes. Right? So it's a step in the right direction. It's an improvement. This is fundamentally basic technology. It's a website with a database on the back end, and it's made an improvement. But if you want to enter this market as a new software company offering the same service, it's going to be tough for you to compete. Right? So, in order to compete, I think you need to understand some new technologies that are out there. So artificial intelligence, for example, is an example where you can actually do, so if you build an AI engine, you can process 1,000 times, 100 times more claims automatically, do most of the work without the need for a claims processing person. There may be one or two steps somewhere in between, in maybe 1 or 2% of the cases where a claims person is required. But assuming most of your customers submit the information that's needed, your artificial intelligence engine can process 100 times or more claims with no cost, no significant cost. There's no labor costs. You purchase the software once, or you purchase it on a monthly basis, depending on the software company's revenue model. The point here is that you, as a business person or as a founder of a company, you know enough about the topic of artificial intelligence to know that if you build a big enough database, you can train an AI engine to understand the decisions that a claims processing person does every day. So artificial intelligence is essentially a brain that is trained using data. So if we have the data, we can build the algorithm in the AI engine to replicate the behavior of a claims person, right? So that is a significant advantage. It's a significant advantage to the business because all of a sudden you can tell them, look, you have 30 claims people in the department. You can either remove, and I'm not advocating this, but you could either remove all of them and keep 1 or 2 and still process the same number of claims, right? Or you keep all 30 of them, use our AI engine, and you can do 20, 30, 40 times more business. So depending on your business strategy, this AI engine can help you decrease costs or keep costs the same, but generate a lot more revenues. And to do that, you need to understand, you don't need to understand the technical aspects of AI, but you need to understand what AI's impact is on business. Right? There are other areas it can help with fraud detection. It can help with customer engagement. If you have a chatbot, for example, it can forecast claims costs and helping the company manage its risks, forecasting. So there's a lot of things it can do, but your role as a CEO, for example, is to simply understand that there's a business need in the insurance industry where they're wasting a lot of time doing all this processing. And there are technologies out there like AI, et cetera, that can help mimic human behavior, but at a much faster rate. And I guess that's the main point of my presentation today. You don't really need to understand technology at a deep level. If you do, that's fine. What you need to do is you need to understand that there are business needs that are out there, problems that need solving. And sometimes customers don't know that this new technology is out there to solve it. But you need to know enough about that technology to understand its impact on business. Of course, you'll eventually need to hire a technology person, a software developer, an AI expert. But in the beginning, if you're starting your company, you just need to see the opportunity. So, and this can be applied across many other industries. I'm not just talking insurance. As long as you can identify a customer pain, whether something takes too long, whether the human costs are too high, whether there's too much risk, these are general pains that are experienced across industries. And if you can use technologies through your products and services to decrease the cost, decrease the risk, help companies generate more revenue, and if you can do that with the use of technology and, for example, like an AI algorithm that is a secret algorithm that does something better than your competition, then that software technology can provide you a long-term sustainable advantage. And it's agnostic. It doesn't matter the industry. It doesn't matter the technology. What I'm trying, the main point I want to get across is that you need to solve a customer pain, and you don't have to jump to technology first, but you have to be aware of what technologies are out there. And if you play your cards right, if you really examine the situation right as a CEO or the founder, then that technology can give you a long-term advantage over your competition. That's the main point. I didn't want to dive into technology specifically, but I really wanted to highlight the link between solving a customer pain and trying to find technologies that can solve those customer pains while maintaining a competitive advantage. That was the main point of my presentation. I hope you found it useful, and I'm happy to take any questions. If you have a question, you can either type it or you can just jump right in. Does anybody have a question, please?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have some time remaining. If anyone has a question, they can raise hand, they can send on the Q&A box, they can mention a comment on the Q&A box. Just a quick reminder.
Does anyone if you don't have a question, maybe you can have a chat. Is anyone currently thinking about launching a company or has recently launched a technology company? And if you have, and even if it's not technology, uh, are you able to talk about it with us? Can we share about what you're doing and what you think your competitive advantage is? And don't get into the details. I just, in general, what is your competitive advantage? How did you create a competitive advantage? If anyone's done that recently.
Mr. Mohammed, we have a comment from Mr. Mohammed Farbishi here. Thanks so much for your presentation. AI accuracy is not always high, so it may be misleading.
What is not always high?
AI accuracy is not always high.
It's, I didn't see the question, but it's okay. AI is not always high. It's absolutely right. But AI is a technology who its accuracy is based in part on the data that you provided. So if you can provide it a good amount of data and you have a good coder who understands artificial intelligence, you can produce fairly high accuracy. AI is not designed to replace all human interaction. So in the example that I gave you, AI could maybe decrease your labor cost by 90% in the claims processing department, or 70%, or 40%. It depends on the quality of your AI engine, but it doesn't replace it 100%. And if you can replace it 20%, 30%, that may be enough to convince a customer. I mean, that 20, 30%, it sounds low, but if you're talking about big companies, you're talking millions of dollars in savings. So it's not intended to replace human beings. It's intended to deliver value by lowering the cost of doing business. There's someone, I think I saw someone, Andreas said he's willing to talk and he wants to share a problem. He found an enormously big problem. It'd be great if you can share that with us. Talking, please, let's talk. Yeah, the typing is, if we can talk, I think it's better. I don't know if you were able to unmute. Maybe it's not possible, I don't know.
I think Andreas might have a problem with the mic. I'm trying to unmute him.
Yeah. Can you unmute him?
Well, I unmuted him.
Okay. Okay. I'm not sure how we're going to solve this. I'll tell you something. In my experience, we cannot hear you, unfortunately. Yeah,
I think there is a problem with the mic. There is noise coming from his mic.
Yeah, you can type. Go ahead, Andreas, please type. As Andreas is typing, I get asked this question often. Why do most startups fail? In my opinion, most startups fail because of two reasons. They don't have an idea that solves a problem. So over time, they realize there's no one interested in it. They don't have customers. And they fail because their team is not able to execute. So if Andreas has a problem, a big problem, I mean, you're halfway there. If you can identify a big problem, you have something that a lot of startups can't figure out. Due to massive overreact, okay. Not sure what the problem is. Banks have, okay, due to massive overregulation, banks have been barred, yeah, out of one of the biggest segments of capital markets. Okay, I'm curious now, what is it? I'm very curious. Large-scale financing infrastructure projects, okay. Well, how would you propose? It's unfortunate you can't. It's unfortunate we can't hear more about it through voice. But at least you've identified a significant problem. I think your biggest challenge now is to explore ways, either through the business model or the value proposition canvas that I've presented up here. So there's the business model canvas or the value proposition canvas, to try to explore ways of creating a business out of this, but making sure that your business has a significant competitive advantage over the competition. Is anyone else? Sorry, Andreas, I wish we could talk more about it. Does anyone else have any question or comment? Again, your biggest challenge is to identify a problem. Don't always jump to, I have this great technology and I want to create a startup out of it. If it's not solving a problem, then it's really, it can really frustrate you. So focus, spend most of your time identifying a problem that's big enough and there's a big customer need for it. And then, like, I would spend half my time or more on that personally, and then spend a bit of time on how you would actually build a solution. Your last step could be, what technologies could we add to improve the performance of the solution? But technology shouldn't be your first step. So can the host hear me or no?
Yes, I can see.
Yeah, unfortunately, Andreas, we can't get through to him.
Yeah, we have 1 minute remaining if you would like to close the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I can mention, since we have 1 minute, I would encourage people just to go to QSTP's website and follow QSTP on Instagram. We have programs that help you take ideas and build technology companies. We have an Accelerate program, XLR, and then the number 8. That helps, it could help Andreas, for example, take that idea and actually build a company out of it. It doesn't cost you anything. It's running now. The applications are open now. I think they're open for another week. And we have funding programs. We have programs where you can launch your startup. You can own it 100%. We don't take anything. We have a lot of programs, but all you really need to do is go to the QSTP website or follow us on Instagram or Facebook. And I think hopefully we can be of value to you and your entrepreneurial journey. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Thank you for the great workshop.
Have a great day.
Likewise. Our dear audience, thank you for supporting our event by attending and contributing. We hope you enjoyed the experience and received beneficial information. See you in our next show.